Hi guys, welcome to episode 5 of Ask the Trainer. We have a special guest today. Look who's here and out of the hospital right now. Oh, here, you want to sit here? Look, he's been doing really well the last 3 days. Here, Kuma. Hi, yes, he's been really alert. We switched his medication. Oh, okay, he wants to get down. We switched his medication, Kuma, sit? Yes. To a new immunosuppressive drug. So I'm really hoping his health being up is due to the switch with that drug, and that it's really helping his body. So with everything, I mean, his back is healing. It looks really bad right now, but it's actually healing really well. With everything with his disease, his health is always super up and down. But I'm just so grateful for the up right now, and I just hope that it keeps going up. So thank you so much for all of your messages and support and prayers that you've been sending to Kuma and I. We so appreciate it. But he's doing really well. He's actually been kind of naughty today. So that's when I know he's feeling really good. Kuma! Yes. Right now he's being a little dramatic. Sit. Yes. Good boy, Kuma. Hi. Yes. Good job. Ripley, sit. There's a bunch of dogs here. Good girl, Ripley. Ripley. Good job. Okay, so we're gonna start off. I know, look at Kuma's appetite even. Like, he's been a little piglet again, which is amazing. He hasn't had a fever in, like, what has it been, 4 days? Yeah, 4 days, which is huge because he had 29 in the month of December. So he's just doing so amazing, and I'm so glad. He's even doing okay without the opioid patch on his neck right now, which is so good. Is that your friend Ripley? And this is little Ripley. She's a Kleekai. Isn't she so cute? You love these, huh? Shake. Yes. Good girl. Good job. Kuma, sit. Yes. Good. Kuma has actually developed like really bad resource guarding when he's chewing on like a bully stick or a pig's ear. So we're definitely going to have to do a video on how to work through that, because he's been really naughty about it. And I haven't been able to work on much training with him at all, just because of the ups and downs of his health. So it's been really difficult, but that's definitely something. Kuma! Like, he's hovering over Ripley right now. That we need to work on. Right, mister. Right. But that's okay. I'll take that any day, as opposed to a downward spiral with his health. Ripley, were you growling? Kuma, can you grab me a couple more of those treats? Okay, and then we're going to begin the Q&A shortly here. I've gotten a ton of, these are from like direct messages that I've gotten over the last few weeks, or maybe it's been a month since we've done this now. Thank you. So we're gonna answer some of those right now, but if you guys have any other questions that you want me to answer, go ahead and comment it on the live stream now. So I think we're ready, right? What's the first one, Miho?
Krista asks, hey, my 9-week-old puppy is very nippy. We try to distract him by having a chew toy or bone around, but he still bites a lot. Is there anything else we can do?
Okay, so this is probably the number one question that I get, is how to deal with nippiness and mouthiness. This one is really difficult because, as all of you know, my golden rule of training, Kuma, what are you doing over there? Come here. Kuma. With like nipping, biting, any bad behavior, is that redirection is key to solving the issue. So if the puppy is being nippy, mouthy, you have to think about why the puppy is doing that. Because puppies forever have a need to chew, to bite. They're not sure what's appropriate to bite and nip on. So instead of just saying no, you have to redirect them to what's right. So you have to be redirecting them to that toy. Sometimes, though, redirection is not enough. So in the cases that redirection isn't enough, this is a different kind of behavioral issue, and it can actually lead into like control issues. So if the puppy, you're redirecting your dog to a toy, keep putting it in the dog's mouth, and your puppy keeps coming back at you, it's basically because he can. So the puppy thinks you're more fun to bite at and mouth at, and I get your attention, I get you to play with me no matter how I act. So why not keep having zero self-control around you? So what you have to do is basically let the puppy know that, I'm redirecting you to what is right, but if you are too excited to even be able to control yourself during our playtime and you can't play with me appropriately, you don't get my attention, you don't get playtime with me. So what that can resort in is putting the puppy outside in a different room, just separating yourself, kind of giving the puppy a little break. You can also use the crate as long as you don't put the dog in the crate in a negative way. And that's really, really hard for people to do, because I think when your puppy is biting at you constantly, you get really frustrated. You just want to yell at the dog, and people at this point are like, get in your crate. But as long as you kind of just take a deep breath and pick the puppy up and are just like, okay, this environment is clearly too overstimulating for you to control yourself. Let's take a little break. Once the dog is calmed down, you can try again. But this is really huge, because I've even seen, like in my sessions with some of my clients, like I just always will remember this one. The owner was holding a puppy, and the puppy was just like biting at her, trying to bite at her face, and she's like, no, like kept saying no, and then tried to give a toy, but the puppy wouldn't take it, and just constantly was telling this puppy no, but there was nothing behind the no. It was like, no didn't mean anything to the dog. So it was like, okay, I can tell you no, but I'm still gonna sit here with you. You get to sit in my lap and still let you bite at me. So you have to just take away that opportunity for them to mouth and bite on you if that's how they're acting. So that should answer that one. All right, let's do the next one.
Mikey asks, when we're walking my dog off leash, we often give her a tennis ball. But as soon as she has a ball, she's so focused on that ball that she won't listen to me or anyone anymore. She won't come to us when we call her, and she doesn't listen to any of our commands. How can we train her to listen while still having fun with her ball?
So things like this, like a ball, can get some dogs into such a zoned out state that it's nearly impossible to teach them anything when their mind is on that object. I've seen some dogs act this way with sticks, some with treats, but I think that like a tennis ball, I've never seen a dog get more zoned in than like on a ball. I think that's like the number one thing that will make a dog get into this state. So what I would definitely recommend is you can't start off by teaching the dog how to listen in that most zoned out, excited state. Right now, when the dog sees a ball, there's going to be nothing in their mind that's going to register. So you have to start with making sure that, let's say we're telling the dog come. Let's just use the recall as an example. So I would first make sure that I have a 100% consistent recall without a ball, without anything there. So without any dogs, without any other distractions, to make sure that we have that solid base of recall. The next step, once you have that, I would use another distraction that's not quite as difficult as the ball. So The ball is going to be the highest level of distraction when that dog is in just a completely zoned out state. So start off with nothing, and then you want to work up towards that ball. So it depends on the dog, you know, what distracts the dog. Maybe a person would be the next step, but maybe a person is closer to that step of the ball. So I would just kind of evaluate different distractions, judging on your dog, and start incorporating them so it works up at levels. So my dog Juno, for instance, is so obsessed with the ball. So I would start off first, no distractions. The second step for her, I think, would be other dogs, because she's not too into other dogs. She likes them, but she's not really distracted. She'd rather be with people, the ball, toys. So people would be the next, or other dogs, I'm sorry, would be the next level for her. And I know with most dogs, other dogs might be closer to that tennis ball distraction zone out. And then I would use people probably next, and then another toy next. And with every step, we start from square one with the recall, and just make sure you have that at 100% recall. Then try to incorporate that with the tennis ball as well. So I hope that helps. There's more to it, and it just depends on each dog and their zoned in state. That's kind of specific to each dog. Ripley, what is it? You want to come up? Yay! Hi, Ripley. Say hi. Say hello. Okay, ready for the next?
Mally asks, my dog had parvo when he was younger and therefore wasn't socialized very well. He just turned 1 and is pretty anxious around other dogs. Any suggestions?
Yeah, so it's really difficult when puppies get sick. I know more than anyone. It's really hard because you're starting off behind. So you're starting off not even that there was no socialization, but behind. So, and that's exactly where she is. The dog is thinking of other dogs as negative. So did she say the dog's 1?
Yes.
So I would make sure that every introduction with a dog is very controlled and positive. Since you are starting off with a dog that's fearful, you want to make sure that any dog that he meets is going to be a positive experience. So if you see a dog walking down the street that's, you don't know how it's going to go, but you're like, okay, I really need him to meet all dogs. You're not going to want to start off with a dog that's just crazy. You don't know how he's going to react. It has to be 100% positive to get him to that kind of neutral place with dogs instead of being negative with the fearfulness first. And this is something that definitely just depends on the dog. You're going to need to use desensitization and counter conditioning, which I do in my training all of the time, to just ensure that you are pushing your dog past his comfort zone, but not to the point where he's too stressed out. Because when you get to the point of being too stressed out, that's when more negative associations are going to happen with that dog. So, uh-oh, did you drop it? Did you drop your antler? Here you go. Oh, sit. Yes, Ripley, good girl. So yeah, that's definitely desensitization and counter conditioning, but again, that process is different for every single dog.
Any advice on how to positively reinforce a big dog with toddlers or strollers? My dog has panic attacks around squeaky and bouncy strollers, and it scares them on the street, and she begins to bark. The trainer I worked with said to use the shock collar, but we're afraid it's making her afraid of them, and therefore even more enticing. I do not have direct access to kids, so desensitizing her has been difficult.
Okay, so, sit. Yes, don't drop that again, okay? Good girl. So, desensitization and counter conditioning is the right move for this. Good idea. The shock collar is definitely going to, just like she's found out, add more. Is she doing it on purpose? Are you doing it on purpose, dropping that? What are you doing? What are you doing? This dog is so smart. It's crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're too smart. You're too smart. So the shock collar is a form of negative reinforcement, and it's going to have the opposite effect. So it could be a Band-Aid fix that the dog doesn't freak out about, you know, when that stroller is around. But the reason why he wouldn't freak out right then is because he's too scared. So in the long term, it's going to have an even more negative effect on his fearfulness towards the strollers, because not only is there that scary stroller, but now it's also associated with a painful shock as well. So that's a double negative right there. So using negative reinforcement in that case is just going to damage him even more mentally. So positive reinforcement is the only method that's really going to get him over that fearfulness. And I think that people are don't like to do it because positive reinforcement takes longer. You know, the negative reinforcement, again, is a quick Band-Aid fix to the solution. And positive reinforcement is actually healing their mind and making him actually think that that stroller is positive instead of negative. And it just takes longer, but you're actually helping the dog. So what I would do, if you don't have access to kids, you do have access to parks and places where there are kids. And what I would do is get the stroller or the thing that he's afraid of and start at a distance. So you want to find that distance where he's uncomfortable, kind of like looking at the stroller, but you can still somewhat get his focus. He's not so zoned in and checked out. If he's so zoned in on that stroller or that kid or whatever it is that the dog is afraid of, you're too close. So you need to back up and get to that point of where you can half get the focus. And you want to use treats, toys, anything that's positive, and that will get your dog's focus away from the stroller, the kid, whatever, and keep getting the focus back. Sit. Grizzly. 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 Grizzly's being stubborn. Grizz. Yes, good boy. Good job. Hi, you guys. You like these treats? These are little cookie treats that somebody sent. Yes, Kuma. Yes, good job. So that distance is going to vary for every single dog. Like, I've had some dogs that we have to start like across like the length of like 3 soccer fields and start at that length before we can actually move forward and forward. But some dogs, it will just be across the room is their starting point. So it just depends on the dog. But you basically just want to shift their mind from worrying about the stroller or the kid at that distance until you have them to the point where they don't care about what's behind them at all, that they're the thing that's behind them that was triggering that fear. And then once you have them there, you can slowly work closer and closer and closer up to that thing. I think that a lot of people jump to just having that object right next to the dog, and a lot of the times you're already past their stress point, so it's going to do no good. So you just have to back up to find that point. And again, this is a more extensive process, desensitization and counter conditioning, where you have to really read your dog's body language, stress signals to really know, is it okay to move closer? Is it okay to move further away? Which most likely, unless you're a behaviorist, you can't know right away. But that's just kind of the general basics of what I would do to try to get the dog over it. And starting, if you worked for like 30 minutes at a park and you're like, I don't know, I'm so bad with like length, what, like 100 meters? Is that a long way? What's 100 meters? I don't know. Okay, so you're 100 meters away from a park, and for that 30 minutes, you're just on the border of the dog wanting to look at the park and wanting not. It's going to be better to just stay and work at that distance until you have your dog completely comfortable with that distance. before moving to 90 meters or 80, whatever. So that's going to go a lot further than trying to push it faster.
This is from Lily. I have a 15-week-old Corgi puppy. When we play, he can get very rough and even launch at mine or my family's hands, feet, and legs. I've tried to give him a toy, but most of the time he doesn't want it and lunges at my hands. Not only are his teeth extremely sharp, but he is getting very strong. I've read many posts about what to do about the aggressive behavior, and I've read about trying timeouts. Do you have any advice?
Yeah, so I think this is very similar to, who's that? I think this is very similar to the first one that I answered, where redirection just isn't enough. But if you're getting lunging, you're getting that second step where it's more of like control issues and it's a little bit more worrisome. So timeouts, I guess, what you're referring to is kind of what I was talking to before, where if the environment that they're in is too much for the dog to control themselves, then you shouldn't, and they haven't earned your attention, because anytime they have your attention, they're just trying to lunge at you. You should definitely separate yourself from the dog. So it is the most beneficial to kind of put them back in a place where it's going to make them calm themselves down. So I like to use the crate as that calming place, because it's the one place where they can relax and turn their mind off. Sometimes if you just put the dog outside, then they exert that energy into, or they could be frustrated and then they're digging in the yard or doing something else. So the crate is just really good for teaching your dog self-control. It's the one place where the dog can just shut their mind off and relax, and they're kind of forced to do nothing else but work on their self-control. So make sure anytime that you're telling your dog no, and especially if you have the lunging, redirection to just a toy is probably not enough. So I would try to shift the dog's mind to like doing work, like sit down, try to shift your dog's mind that way. Like, this is what you do when you want my attention, when you want to play with me, sit in front of me, because sometimes just doing nothing for super intelligent dogs and just going and getting a toy is not enough for them. So I think, yeah, that's what I would first try, is giving the dog some work to do. And it sounds like this dog could even use, like, you know, indirectly working on self-control training with like wait and stay, leave it, those kind of things. So try to shift the dog's mind from the lunging to, how about you sit and down and do puppy push-ups and wait. And then if that's not enough, then I would definitely separate yourself from the dog and just let the dog know that if you're going to be lunging at me, you don't earn my attention. So if you put a dog in the timeout, or just get them to take a little break, wait till the dog is settled down, then let the dog out again. If she or he goes right back to lunging at you, then it's back into the break. And you keep doing that, repeating that until the dog comes out and goes for the toy or is playing with you appropriately. So I think that should help with that.
This is from Denise. I just moved from Florida to Brooklyn and I have a Chiweenie. She's super nervous with people walking around her and the cars on the highway that are right by us. I've been trying to get her to use the bathroom on the sidewalk. She will poop on the sidewalk, but she won't pee. Any ideas on how to get her to calm down or to go potty on the sidewalk?
So this is a couple different issues. So just the fearfulness of like the noises and the cars. This is really common when a dog, especially sensitive dogs, move to a busy city like New York, or city like New York. I've dealt with this a lot with some of my New York clients. The first thing is going to be desensitizing the dog to the cars and the noises. So exactly what I was just talking with about starting at a distance with, you know, finding a road where you can control the distance up to where the cars are going. Staying in one spot until they're comfortable is going to be really huge. So that's kind of like the one issue of it, just getting the dog. What is she doing? Are you getting toys? So just getting the dog comfortable with the noises and the cars is going to be the first part of it. And then the second part is, you know, just even more comfortable, getting the dog even more comfortable to be able to go to the bathroom, what I would do, I'm not sure if you're using potty pads as well. It didn't say that, right? Where is she peeing then? It doesn't say?
It doesn't say.
So if she's not going potty outside, I'm going to assume that she's going on like pads inside. So I would make sure that it's super controlled where she can't go on the pad or have an accident inside, and work on taking her out. The first thing, I'm not sure if she's crate trained either. So the crate training helps with even going back and doing this kind of potty training, just because it's the one place that the dog instinctually, 95% of dogs, don't have accidents in. So what I would do is first thing in the morning, take the dog out to go potty, because that's the first, that's the number one time when a dog needs to pee. And I would stay out there for as long as you can. If she doesn't go, when you go back inside, I would put her back into the crate and try again in 15 minutes. So this is obviously going to be on a day that you don't have work and you have no other obligation other than to get your dog to pee outside. And then in 15 minutes, go back out and try again. So eventually the dog is going to go. The hard part is if the dog goes immediately in the morning, you don't really know when to start this, because you want attention? Oh my gosh, she's such a talker. You are so silly. You want the camera on you? Is that what you're saying? Huh? What are you saying? So first thing in the morning, and then just keep trying to do that. Bring treats outside with you. Make it a huge deal when she does go to the bathroom. I would try to find a specific spot where it's as far away from cars as you possibly can, just to try, or loud noises. And it helps if there's one spot, so she knows, okay, this is like my potty spot, instead of just sniffing around everywhere. And trying to get her to go consistently on that spot is definitely going to help.
This is from Mario. I have two male unfixed dogs.
What are you doing?
One is a 6-year-old bichon and the other is a 13-month-old English bulldog. They seem to be getting along just fine since I brought the oldie 11 months ago when he was 2 months, but recently they both have started to be aggressive to each other. I've broken up fights, but this is all in the house because when I'm about to take them out for walks, they're okay and they get along. They walk together, they lick each other, but it's all inside the house, and I don't know what it is, but I'm pretty sure it's something me and my wife must be doing. Thank you, and I hope you can respond.
How old are they again?
One is 6 years old, and the other is 13 months old.
And 13 months. Okay, so one, get your dogs neutered. That is like my number one suggestion for that. There's way too much testosterone and unnecessary testosterone that would probably fix, like, it might fix the entire issue, just getting your dog neutered. So just and if you don't want to get the older one neutered, definitely get the younger one neutered. So that 13-month mark, right after a year, is when male dogs especially get an extra boost of testosterone. Like even Grizzly was a rescue dog, so he was neutered super young, but it was at like 13 months exactly, where he got this extra boost of testosterone, where he started to develop prey drive. Like he didn't care about rabbits, and then all of a sudden was like going nuts, like chasing rabbits, and it like came out of nowhere. And he had just started lifting his leg at that time, which is super late. But yeah, and I've heard of a lot of male dogs, neutered or not, getting that extra boost of testosterone and hormones at that age. So that definitely can feed into why you're having issues now. That absolutely explains it. But getting rid of that is just going to help you so much. There's other ways that you can work through that aggression, but with that buildup of testosterone, you're still going to be working with those extra hormones, and getting rid of those first is definitely going to be crucial if you want your dogs to 100% of the time be able to get along. But again, what I would do is It sounds like it's territorial aggression. I don't think he mentioned what was starting the fights, right? I don't know if it was resource guarding or what it is starting those fights, but you'll definitely have to work on desensitization and counter conditioning with the both of them, figure out who's starting it, and try to work with that dog especially. So with desensitization and counter conditioning of aggression, what you have to do is basically think about what's triggering that dog to go after the other dog, and basically rewire that natural instinct so that when the dog is feeling whatever feelings they're feeling, if it's over jealousy or territorial, whatever it is that's making them snap, when you feel that way, instead of taking it out on your brother or the other dog, look to me instead, or give them a different job to do. So once again, this is a very it's unique to every single dog exactly how to go about working through aggression and desensitization, but I think that should help to start, and I strongly recommend neutering at least the younger one.
This is Caroline from Switzerland. My girlfriend's dog is staying at my apartment a lot lately, and he always barks when my other roommates come home.
Hi, sweetie.
I'm reading your book and I'm trying to figure out how to handle this. Is he showing territorial protective behavior or fear, or both? Any tips how to reduce it? Thanks in advance for your help.
Just barking when the roommate gets home?
Yes.
I couldn't tell you what is the reason for the barking unless I saw the dog's body language during it, and exactly how the dog is barking. Is he barking and running at the person, or is he barking and kind of like hiding back behind? And did they say, I don't think they said if the dog is in a different room. Did they, when the person gets home?
There's nothing specific.
Okay, I'm assuming that the dog is just out, and then when one roommate walks in, the dog's like barking at the person, which is actually what we were just working with Ripley with. So she developed this as well, just kind of barking at strangers coming in. So what we've been doing is changing that natural instinct, figuring out why she's doing it. She's doing it as like a protective instinct. So when she feels that way, we have to give her a different job to do, because just telling her no isn't going to make that protective instinct go away. So what you have to do, what I love to do with dogs who bark when people walk in, is teach like a go to your place, go to your spot, place spot, go to your bed, that command first, and then use a stay and wait command. I guess the stay and wait would be if you're going to answer the door. So I would work with your roommate on maybe pausing for a second, or even like knocking when they're at the door if they can, and giving you the chance to switch that natural instinct of like rushing the door and barking when they know that person's there, and going to a spot. And then you could definitely use the stay command while that person is walking in. So you're changing that natural instinct to, when I feel like I want to protect and I have to take it out on that person, do this instead. And then when you use that stay command, it keeps the dog's mind from like going back to the barking. In the beginning, you're going to see the dog very confused. Like naturally the dog wants to be barking at that person walking in. But as long as you're consistent with that stay, that will end up being the natural instinct to kind of desensitize of that person. So hopefully that helps. I don't know the exact situation again, so it definitely varies based on the reason why the dog is barking and how the dog acts towards that person in other situations. So that should be a good starting point though.
This is from Stella Roscoe. My 5-month-old puppy will freely go into her crate at night, but will not get in whenever we leave the house. Any advice?
Yes, so it seems like you have to desensitize your puppy of the crate during the day, because at night the puppy is knowing that, okay, this is where I'm going to sleep. I know that my people are going to be here with me. But then during the day, she's kind of having anxiety about the crate, because anytime she's in the crate during the day, it means that you're leaving. So it does the opposite of making it her safe place. It's that place where she's going to be all alone, that horrible place. So you have to make it a positive place again during the day. So I would desensitize her of it by, again, like we talked about earlier, doing the crate and wait method. So teaching her to go into her crate on command, then getting her to sit in there, rewarding her, and then starting to close it and do a wait and increase the amount of time that you close it, you know, walk around, and start implementing that periods of the crate, that she's in the crate during the day as well. So really easy time to do that is at meal times, because you're usually there during meal times. Well, you are there to feed her. So putting her in the crate during meal times, because if she loves her meals too, that will also help to associate it as a positive place. And then if just meal times aren't enough, you can choose like an hour throughout the day that you give her like her bones, her bully sticks and things in there while you're home. So it's super important to also use the crate while you're home, which a lot of people don't think about because she doesn't need to be in there because you're home, but it will still absolutely help with that. Thanks so much for watching, and if I didn't get to your questions this time, I will try to get to them next time, and I'll see you guys next time.